Against a knife-wielding attacker, distance management is key, and this officer does it well. Hi everyone, welcome to today's bonus badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. With me, as always, the host of the ASP podcast, Mike Williver, and I'm your host, John Correa.
Today's video comes to us from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Throwing targets are lightweight, weatherproof, take thousands of rounds of shooting, and make shooting fun. Pick up a set for your next range trip. 911 has been called by a dad who has a restraining order against his son, who has threatened the family on multiple occasions. He has a restraining order against him. He calls and says he's on drugs. He's outside in the backyard with a knife threatening the families, which of course then causes a fairly stout response. When officers get to the house, he actually jumped the back fence of the house, which is why they're out here on the street trying to make contact with him again. They're gonna make contact with him. First two officers stop before him. This officer is going to whip around from the other side and try to contain him. Let's listen in.
Ricardo, we need you to listen. That's it, all right? Listen to what they're saying.
53, go ahead. To Sam Robert David, 151 California. It's on the front of this RV. Belongs to it or not.
Drop the knife, Ricardo. Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Ricardo! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Ricardo! Drop the knife!
Slowed down here, you can see this guy coming up and chasing after the officer, coming in on him. A couple of shots there. They did hit him. That shot did prove fatal. Las Vegas did not release the rest of this badge cam. I really wish they had, quite frankly, but we still get to think about lessons.
Hey, did you know we have videos about dropping stuff that's in your support hand before you draw or as you draw your firearm? They're on the Extra channel. Go check them out. It's valuable training.
Now, you don't want to let dispatch overprime you here to expect, okay, this is exactly what I'm coming into. But when you hear restraining orders, probably somebody who is, drug-addled, they have a knife, they're, running away from us, whatever, you got to be prepared for this one to go south in a hurry, and I think our officer was.
I would agree with that 100%. And what I love here is that he sees the guy, recognizes, hey, that's probably my boy, walking down the street, and doesn't just roll right up to him close. He gets a little bit further down, gives himself a little bit of distance to have some reactionary gap there, which I love. A lot of cops want to get right in there. But then he goes and gets a little closer than I would have liked to see him get. With that said, he gets out and realizes, okay, this is exactly what we were told it was by dispatch, and now I have to deal with this soup sandwich.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to deal with that. Now, I do like that he let the other guys talk. You got to listen to those officers, not me talking, them. And as he tries to put his gloves on, okay, great. The guy starts coming his way, and just a little stop here to say how much I love that he locked the doors of his cruiser. We have seen several instances over the last few weeks in the badge cams, Mike, that not locking your cruiser door can get you into a lot of trouble. You got to leave the car running to power the electronics and all that stuff, and so making sure that you've got a key on your waist, that you've got the doors locked, that this perp can't jump in your car and cause havoc in the city is a important small detail that this deputy did really well, or officer rather did real well.
I would agree with that as well. I think most agencies, you have a spare key or a clicker or something like that you keep on your person. That way you can lock the doors as you get out, leave the car running, like you said, for the electronics, and get back in. What you don't want is someone in this guy's state of mind in charge of a marked police car, potentially with a rifle, shotgun, God knows what else on board. So yeah, good job locking the door, officer.
It's a little thing, but it's not, nothing. Now, notice here, he put one glove on, which I think is smart. He knew he was going to have to go hands-on with this guy. Didn't have time to get the other glove on. Now he has to get a gun out, and he has that second glove in his left hand that he's trying to get a two-handed grip on this gun. And I get it. You want to hold on to that because you know you're going to have to go hands-on with this guy. But if you really think that, hey, I have a gun in my hand, you need to drop what is in ever else is in your hands. When a gun is in your hand, drop everything else because that gun needs your full attention.
This is one time when I'll cut the officer a little bit of slack because it's his gloves. I'm sure it was weird for him to be halfway into putting the second glove on or start to put the second glove on, and all of a sudden it's time to draw a gun. It's certainly a lot less obtrusive than a flashlight or a clipboard or all the myriad other things we've seen officers hang on to. But yeah, get on the range and practice dropping stuff and drawing, or practice drawing and dropping stuff, however you want to do it, but get your hands empty to the extent that you can.
And again, that's just because what we're going to see happen here is we're going to see the problems with it. So now I love that this officer gives space. Guy's got a knife, I've got a gun, I can give the guy space. Of course, in backing up, what ends up happening is he ends up tripping over the curb. So two things on this. Yes, give space when you can, because that space buys you time and that lets you make better decisions, gives more opportunities. Number two, watch that straight back up, that straight backing up, because that's where you end up, kind of butt over tea kettle there, and you end up on your butt. Thankfully, this officer didn't, but this is why we prefer lateral movement to reverse movement.
Couple things here, John. One, I like that he got offline with his partner, so his partner's no longer in his line of fire. I'm pretty sure that's part of what he was thinking when he decided to turn in this direction. And yeah, moving laterally is something you've got to practice. It doesn't come naturally. It's not a natural thing for us to move side to side, even a little bit. And you would hate to see him, fall on his butt here with this curb behind him, because that guy is a lot closer than he looks on the camera, and he could be on top of him in no time and stabbing him actively. So thank God that didn't happen.
Yeah, thank God that didn't happen in this case. But Jen, if you got to walk backwards, you got to watch out, because that's when the bad stuff happens. Darn near did here. Thankfully, he was able to recover from it, backed up about as far as he possibly could. Now, of course, when does the shots break? It breaks when the subject runs in on the officer with a knife. He's only 12 feet away here. I will note our officer's first shot missed. And again, what is the most important shot out of your handgun? The first shot is the most important shot. Of course, the second most important shot is the follow-up shot from there. And man, dynamic situation. I'm not getting on this guy. He's 12 feet away when the shots break here. And so I know a lot of people are like, 12 feet, gosh, it's only 4 yards. How in the world could he miss from that kind of distance? It's easier than you think to miss from that kind of distance. But that's why you got to say, grip is the master, sight set the pace, trigger is the servant, because misses don't stop knife-wielding attackers.
Agreed. I think here, odds are he didn't realize that the glove was still in his hand. I'm sure he's so amped up right now he doesn't realize it's there. Another thing, we had a great comment on one of the badge cams, I think last week, where there was a suicide by cop. And I want to say it was an EMT type person. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but shout out to you. They said, look, if a person is suicidal, they are homicidal. They're trying to kill someone. In this case, it's himself. Don't think for a minute this guy won't injure or try to kill you in the process of getting you to try to kill him. So unfortunately, like we say in these instances, this is a point where he's going to keep escalating this until you do what you have to do. And if that means getting all the way to you and stabbing you in the gut, that's what he's going to do. So sadly, he had to pull the trigger here. We like to see that first shot hit, especially at that distance. There's not a lot of movement going on. So it was definitely a doable shot at that distance, but under stress, I get it. He missed just by a little bit, so not the end of the world. He had a pretty decent backstop with that wall back there, so he did what he had to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he did what he had to do in that case. One final thing here. I don't think that Las Vegas Metro did a great job. I think they should have put out a little bit more video on this one for the sake of transparency and what they actually wanted to do here. I also think it kind of looks to me like the officer's got the gun down and out of his line of sight. I get it. Those Glock sights are real crap, and so they're really difficult to use. However, you want to use those. They're better than nothing. They're better than a real, just kind of a point shooting picture in this particular case. He did get enough and did end up putting this guy down, which he needed to do because the guy was charging him with a knife. So a couple of great lessons here. I think he did enough to cover his asp.